Random House Audiobooks presents Wouldn't Take Nothing for My Journey Now by Maya Angelou. Read for you by the author.
Wouldn't take nothing for my journey now. The title for this work was taken from a 19th century African-American gospel song. I'm on my journey now, Mount Zion, my journey now, Mount Zion, and I wouldn't take nothing, Mount Zion, for my journey now, Mount Zion, you can talk about me, Mount Zion, much as you please, Mount Zion, when I talk about you, Mount Zion, gon' be on my knees, Mount Zion. In all ways a woman. In my young years, I took pride in the fact that luck was called a lady. In fact, there were so few public acknowledgments of the female presence that I felt personally honored whenever nature and large ships were referred to as feminine. But as I matured, I began to resent being considered a sister to a changeling, as fickle as luck, as aloof as an ocean, and as frivolous as nature. The phrase, "A woman always has the right to change her mind," played so aptly into the negative image of the female that I made myself a victim to an unwavering decision. Even if I made an inane and stupid choice, I stuck by it rather than be like a woman and change my mind. Being a woman is hard work. Not without joy and even ecstasy, but still relentless, unending work. Becoming an old female may require only being born with certain genitalia, inheriting long-living genes, and the fortune not to be run over by an out-of-control truck. But to become and remain a woman, command the existence and employment of genius. The woman who survives intact and happy must be at once tender and tough. She must have convinced herself, or be in the unending process of convincing herself, that she, her values, and her choices are important. In a time and world where males hold sway and control, the pressure upon women to yield their rights of way is tremendous. And it is under these very circumstances that the woman's toughness must be in evidence. She must resist considering herself a lesser version of her male counterpart. She is not a sculptress, poetess, authoress, Jewess, negress, or even, now rare in university parlance, a rectoress. If she is the thing, then for her own sense of self and for the education of the ill-informed, she must insist with rectitude in being the thing, and in being called the thing. A rose by any other name may smell as sweet, but a woman called by a devaluing name will only be weakened by the misnomer. She will need to prize her tenderness and be able to display it at appropriate times in order to prevent toughness from gaining total authority and to avoid becoming a mirror image of those men who value power above life and control over love. It is imperative that a woman keeps her sense of humor intact and at the ready. She must see, even if only in secret, that she is the funniest, looniest woman in her world, which she should also see as being the most absurd world of all times. It has been said that laughter is therapeutic, and amiability lengthens the lifespan. Women should be tough, tender, laugh as much as possible, and live long lives. The struggle for equality continues unabated, and the woman warrior, who is armed with wit and courage, will be among the first to celebrate victory. Passports to Understanding. Human beings are more alike than unalike, and what is true anywhere is true everywhere. Yet, I encourage travel to as many destinations as possible for the sake of education as well as pleasure. It is necessary, especially for Americans, to see other lands and experience other cultures. The American, living in this vast country and able to traverse 3,000 miles east to west using the same language, needs to hear languages as they collide in Europe, Africa, and Asia. A tourist browsing in a Paris shop, eating in an Italian ristorante, or idling along a Hong Kong street will encounter 3 or 4 languages as she negotiates the buying of a blouse, the paying of a check, or the choosing of a trinket. I do not mean to suggest that simply overhearing a foreign tongue adds to one's understanding of that language. I do know, however, that being exposed to the existence of other languages increases the perception that the world is populated by people who not only speak differently from oneself, but whose cultures and philosophies are other than one's own. Perhaps travel cannot prevent bigotry, but by demonstrating that all peoples cry, laugh, eat, worry, and die, it can introduce the idea that if we try to understand each other, we may even become friends. The sweetness of charity. The New Testament informs the reader that it is more blessed to give than to receive. I have found that among other of its benefits, giving liberates the soul of the giver. The size and substance of the gift should be important to the recipient, but not to the donor, save that the best thing one can give is that which is appreciated. The giver is as enriched as is the recipient, and more important, that intangible but very real psychic force of good in the world is increased. When we cast our bread upon the waters, we can presume that someone downstream, whose face we will never know, will benefit from our action, as we, who are downstream from another, will profit from that grantor's gift. Since time is the one immaterial object which we cannot influence, neither speed up nor slow down, add to nor diminish, it is an imponderably valuable gift. Each of us has a few minutes a day or a few hours a week which we could donate to an old folks' home or a children's hospital ward. The elderly whose pillows we plump or whose water pitchers we refill may or may not thank us for our gift, but the gift is upholding the foundation of the universe. The children to whom we read simple stories may or may not show gratitude, but each boon we give strengthens the pillars of the world. While our gifts and the recipients should be considered, once decided upon, our bounty should be given without concern, overflowing 1 minute and forgotten the next. Recently, I was asked to speak before a group of philanthropists and was astonished at their self-consciousness. The gathered donors give tens of millions of dollars annually to medical research, educational development, art support, and social reform. Yet, to a person, they seemed a little, just a little, ashamed of themselves. I pondered their behavior and realized that someone
Sample complete. Ready to continue?